There is something about you that women notice immediately, even when you are not trying to be noticed. It is not the loud confidence that demands attention. It is not flashy style, money, or the need to constantly prove yourself. In fact, what draws them in is often the exact opposite. It is the quiet shift in your behavior, the subtle change in how you carry yourself, and most importantly, what you stop doing. Most people think attraction comes from what you say or how hard you try. But what if the real power came from what you no longer chase? Think about it. How many people today are constantly seeking validation? Posting for approval, speaking just to be heard, trying desperately to impress. The world has become loud with people begging for attention, yet you step back from that noise. You stopped performing for the crowd. And strangely enough, that silence started speaking louder than any words ever could. Women notice that. They notice the man who does not rush to fill every quiet moment, the man who listens more than he talks, the man who does not bend himself into shapes just to be liked. When you stopped chasing approval, something powerful happened. Your presence began to feel different, grounded, calm, unshakable. And that kind of energy creates curiosity. Because when someone cannot easily read you, they begin to wonder about you. When someone realizes you are not trying to win their attention, they start paying closer attention to you. It is a quiet psychological shift that most people never understand. Have you ever noticed how people are drawn to mystery? Not because mystery is manipulative, but because it signals depth. When a man does not constantly explain himself, it suggests that there is more beneath the surface. And depth is rare in a world obsessed with surface-level impressions. You became comfortable with your own path. You stopped trying to prove your worth in every room you walked into. Instead of seeking validation, you focused on your own growth, your own purpose, your own peace of mind. That shift alone changes how people feel around you. Women sense when a man is centered, not perfect, not arrogant, just centered. There is a calmness in someone who no longer needs to compete with everyone around them. You do not interrupt others to show how smart you are. You do not brag about every achievement. You do not try to dominate every conversation. And ironically, that restraint makes people listen more carefully when you do speak. Your words carry more weight because they are not constantly being thrown around. And that creates intrigue. But the real reason women find themselves drawn toward you might surprise you even more. It is because you stopped reacting to everything. Many men are easily pulled into emotional chaos. A small criticism ruins their mood. A small rejection shakes their confidence. But you began developing emotional discipline. You learned to pause. Instead of reacting instantly, you observe. Instead of chasing explanations, you allow space. Instead of trying to control every outcome, you focus on controlling your response. That level of self-control is rare. And when people encounter someone with that kind of emotional stability, it creates a powerful sense of safety. Not the loud, dramatic kind of attraction built on excitement and unpredictability. Something deeper, something quieter, something far more magnetic. Because when a man is steady within himself, others feel it. Women can sense when a man is not desperate for approval. They can sense when his confidence is not dependent on attention. And when that happens, curiosity begins to grow naturally. Who is this man who seems so comfortable in his own world? Why does he seem so unaffected by things that usually control others? Why does he carry himself with calm certainty, even when he says very little? These questions begin forming silently in the mind, and the more they observe you, the more that curiosity grows. But here is the part most people never realize. You probably were not trying to attract anyone at all when this change began. You were simply working on yourself, learning from your experiences, becoming more aware of your own values, choosing peace over chaos, choosing discipline over impulse, and without realizing it, those quiet choices started changing the way people see you. Especially women who are paying close attention, because when a man becomes deeply comfortable with who he is, he stops chasing attention. And strangely enough, that is often the exact moment attention starts chasing him. What makes this even more fascinating is that the change did not come from learning tricks or memorizing lines. It came from something much deeper. A shift in how you see yourself and how you move through the world. Most people spend their lives trying to be impressive, but you slowly stopped trying to impress anyone. And that alone changes the entire dynamic. When a man is constantly trying to impress, people can feel it. The energy becomes tense, almost restless. Every word feels calculated. Every action feels like it is seeking approval. But when that pressure disappears, something remarkable takes its place. Authenticity. You began showing up exactly as you are. Calm, observant, focused. You no longer feel the need to fill silence with unnecessary words. You no longer feel the need to prove your intelligence or your value in every conversation. Instead, you listen, you watch. You allow people to reveal themselves, and women notice that immediately. Because most people today are rarely truly listened to. Conversations have become competitions. Everyone is waiting for their turn to speak rather than actually hearing what the other person is saying. But when you listen with patience, when you give someone your full attention without interrupting or trying to steer the moment back toward yourself, it creates a powerful impression. It shows emotional maturity, and emotional maturity is one of the rarest qualities people encounter. Think about how many men react defensively when challenged. A simple disagreement turns into a battle of egos. A small criticism becomes an argument. But when you remain composed, when you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, it sends a quiet message. This man is in control of himself. That level of self-mastery creates a different kind of attraction. Not the temporary kind that fades quickly, but the kind built on respect and curiosity. Have you ever noticed how some people seem completely comfortable being alone? They do not constantly check their phone. They do not panic when there is a moment of silence. They are not searching the room for validation. They simply exist with a calm presence. You began to develop that kind of presence. And presence is powerful. When you walk into a room without trying to dominate it, people still feel your energy. Not because you are demanding attention, but because you are not competing for it. You are simply grounded within yourself. Women sense this balance. They see that you have your own direction, your own focus, your own life that does not revolve around chasing admiration. That independence creates intrigue. It makes them wonder what drives you, what motivates you, what thoughts move quietly behind your calm expression. And the more they observe, the more they realize something else. You are selective. You do not give your time and attention to everyone who asks for it. You respect your own boundaries. You value your time. When you speak with someone, you are present, but you are not trying to hold on to every interaction as if it is your only opportunity. That quiet selectiveness changes everything, because attention that is given freely to everyone often loses its value. But attention that is thoughtful and intentional feels different. It feels meaningful. Women recognize when a man chooses to engage with them rather than chasing them. There is a subtle difference between someone who wants attention and someone who simply shares their attention. When it feels right, one feels needy, the other feels confident, and confidence that does not need to announce itself is incredibly magnetic. But perhaps the most intriguing change of all is how comfortable you have become with uncertainty. Many people were desperate for control, do want clear outcomes, quick reassurance, constant confirmation that everything is going their way. You learn something different. You learn to be patient. You no longer rush every interaction toward a predictable result. You allow conversations to unfold naturally. You allow connections to develop without forcing them. And when things do not work out, you accept it calmly instead of trying to chase what was never meant to stay. That calm acceptance sends a powerful signal. It tells people that your self-worth is not dependent on any single outcome. Women feel that kind of emotional independence immediately. It removes pressure from the interaction, creating space for something much more natural to develop. And that space creates curiosity. Because when someone realizes that you are not trying to control their perception of you, they begin forming their own perception freely. They begin studying your behavior, noticing the details, paying attention to the quiet confidence in your actions. They start asking themselves a simple question. What makes this man so different from everyone else around him? The deeper reason women become drawn to you is not something obvious on the surface. It is something they feel before they can fully explain it. Because what you developed is not simply confidence. It is clarity. Clarity in who you are. Clarity in what you value. Clarity in what you will accept and what you will quietly walk away from. Most people move through life unsure of themselves. They adapt their personality depending on who they are around. One moment they act confident, the next moment they shrink under pressure. Their identity changes depending on the situation. But when someone meets a man who remains steady in different environments, it creates a powerful impression. You became consistent. The way you treat people does not change based on status or attention. You are respectful, but you are not overly eager. You are kind, but you are not easily manipulated. You are open to connection, but you are not afraid to walk away when something feels wrong. That balance is rare. And when women encounter it, it naturally creates fascination. Because many people are used to extremes. Either someone is overly aggressive and dominant, or they are passive and constantly seeking approval. But a man who exists in the middle, calm yet firm, relaxed yet aware, is much harder to understand. That mystery draws attention. Have you ever noticed how people try to test the boundaries of someone they find intriguing? Not in a negative way, but out of curiosity. They want to see how you respond. They want to know whether your calm confidence is real or just an act. So they might challenge your opinions, question your decisions, or playfully push against your perspective. But instead of reacting emotionally, you stay composed. You do not feel the need to win every debate. You do not become defensive when someone disagrees with you. You simply express your thoughts clearly and move forward without turning the moment into a conflict. That response is powerful, because emotional stability cannot be faked for long. Over time, people recognize when someone truly has control over their reactions. And when women see that your calm behavior is consistent, not temporary, their curiosity grows even stronger. They begin paying attention to the small details, the way you pause before responding, the way you observe a room before speaking, the way you remain relaxed in situations that make others anxious. These small behaviors reveal something deeper about your mindset. They show that your confidence does not come from external validation. It comes from internal awareness. You know who you are, and that knowledge allows you to move through the world without constantly questioning yourself. And that kind of certainty is rare. It creates a sense of grounding that others can feel when they are around you. Conversations feel more meaningful. Silence feels comfortable rather than awkward. Interactions feel natural instead of forced. Women notice how different that feels, because many social interactions today are filled with tension. People are worried about saying the wrong thing, appearing awkward, or losing someone's approval. But when you bring a calm and relaxed energy into the interaction, it removes that pressure. It allows people to be more themselves, and that emotional freedom creates a deeper connection. But there is another reason your presence becomes difficult to ignore. You are not easily distracted by every opportunity or every person who enters your life. Your attention remains focused on your path. Purpose has that effect. When someone is truly focused on building their life, improving their mindset, and developing their character, they do not constantly seek attention as a source of identity. Their direction comes from within. Women can sense that focus. They notice when a man is not drifting aimlessly. They see when his time is invested in meaningful goals rather than endless distractions. That sense of direction signals stability, discipline, and long-term thinking. And those qualities naturally create respect. Respect often becomes the foundation of deeper attraction, because when a woman realizes that your life already has direction and structure, she understands that you are not searching for someone to complete you. You are simply open to sharing your journey with someone who aligns with your values. That difference changes everything. It transforms the dynamic from pursuit into mutual curiosity. Instead of trying to convince someone to like you, you are simply being yourself and allowing the right people to recognize that energy. And when that happens, something interesting begins to unfold. Women who once might have overlooked you now find themselves watching more closely, listening more carefully, wondering more deeply about the quiet strength behind your calm presence. What truly makes this situation powerful is that the attraction forming around you is not forced. It is not built on performance or clever tactics. It is a natural response to the way you have changed internally. When someone becomes more self-aware, their entire presence shifts. People can feel when a person is comfortable in their own skin. There is no constant tension, no desperate need to prove something. Instead, there is a quiet confidence that shows up in the way they speak, the way they listen, and even the way they handle silence. And silence, surprisingly, becomes one of your greatest strengths. Most people rush to fill every quiet moment. They worry that silence will make things awkward, so they talk more than they need to, explain more than they should, and often reveal their insecurities without realizing it. But when you are comfortable allowing silence to exist, it changes the rhythm of every interaction. It slows things down. It gives people space to think, to observe, and to feel the presence of the person standing in front of them. And in that quiet space, curiosity begins to grow. Women begin asking themselves questions they cannot easily answer. Why does this man seem so calm when everyone else is trying so hard? Why does he seem completely fine whether he has attention or not? What experiences shaped him into someone who carries himself this way? Those questions create intrigue, and intrigue is powerful because it invites people to look deeper. Instead of seeing only what is on the surface, they start noticing the subtle details that reveal your character. They notice your patience. They notice your discipline. They notice the way you treat others with respect while still maintaining your boundaries. These qualities communicate something important without you ever needing to say it directly. They show that you value yourself enough not to compromise your principles just to gain approval. And that kind of self-respect naturally commands attention. But there is another layer to this that many people overlook. When you stop chasing validation, you also stop fearing rejection in the same way. Rejection no longer feels like a personal failure. It simply becomes information. Not every connection is meant to last. Not every person will understand your mindset. And that is perfectly fine. This perspective frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to win everyone over. Instead of forcing connections, you allow them to form naturally with people who genuinely resonate with your energy. Women can feel the difference immediately. Do recognize that you are not trying to pull them into your life out of loneliness or insecurity. You are simply a meaningful connection. If the alignment feels right, that relaxed approach removes pressure from the interaction and replaces it with something far more appealing. Freedom. When people feel free to be themselves around you, they naturally feel more comfortable. Conversations flow easier. Laughter becomes genuine. Moments feel more authentic because no one is trying to control the outcome. And in that relaxed environment, attraction often grows quietly. Not through dramatic gestures or intense pursuit, but through consistent observation over time. The more someone watches how you move through life, the more they realize that your calm confidence is not temporary. It is who you have become. That realization creates a different level of respect. And respect often becomes the foundation for deeper interest. Because when someone admires the way you think, the way you handle challenges, and the way you remain steady in different situations, their curiosity naturally expands. They want to understand your mindset. They want to know what shapes your perspective. They want to spend more time around the calm presence you bring into the room. And the most interesting part of all is that you did not create this effect by chasing attention. You created it by focusing on growth, discipline, and self-understanding. You chose to develop patience in a world addicted to instant reactions. You chose to develop clarity in a world filled with confusion. You chose to develop self-respect in a world that often trades principles for approval. Those choices quietly transformed your presence. And when a man carries himself with that level of self-awareness, people notice. They may not always explain it clearly, but they feel it. The calm energy, the steady mindset, the quiet strength that does not demand attention, yet somehow receives it anyway. That is why women find themselves drawn in, intrigued, and unable to completely ignore you. Not because you chased their attention, but because you stopped chasing anything that was not aligned with who you truly are.